Okay, week 4, NFL. We're starting to get some data behind us so we can have some better numbers created by the fan ad. I want to point out that this video is really divided into 3 sections. The first section is where we're going to analyze last week's results and just go through a little bit of the results and what we decided we were going to use in our FanDuel contest, how we fared in the contest, what the results looked like. Second section is analyzing the featured games for this week, week 4. And the last section, which is about 10 minutes, is where you can learn how to use the fan ad number indicators and how to interpret them and how to use them on your own so that you don't have to rely on me to help you interpret them each week. Plus, you'll probably want to get the full fan ad, and I only analyze about 3 or 4 games each week. So we strongly recommend you listen to the end of this video, the 10 minutes at the end, if you haven't already. Okay, so let's analyze last week's results. Here were the games that we analyzed and put into a contest. We were going to use a quarterback from Green Bay and/or Kansas City, running backs from Tennessee, Green Bay, and/or Kansas City, and wide receivers. We had no idea because all of them were blue. There was just a ton of parity in the wide receiver department.
I don't get it.
So we just mixed and matched, and we put in this entry. We put in 2 entries. We used Rodgers for both. We mixed and matched our wide receivers and our running backs based on what we said we were going to use. Each entry cost us $4. Each entry won us $8. So we made a total profit of $8, doubled our money. We just didn't have a lot of confidence because there was nothing that really gave us any true separation. Okay, so let's do the analysis for week 4.
Excuse me, may I go to the bathroom first?
These are the 4 games we're going to analyze. They are actually in a FanDuel contest on Sunday afternoon for the 4 afternoon games. Before I get started on this, I do want to point out that we're starting to get a little bit more data. We've got 3 weeks of data now, so the numbers are becoming more trustworthy.
Did I not clearly explain the circle of trust to you?
But they're still not quite there yet. Usually after about week 5 is when we have enough data points where it becomes more meaningful. So before I analyze these games, I do want to point out that below this video you'll see a red button. It looks like what I've got shown on the screen here, where you can get the full fan ad. We recommend you get the full fan ad because it has all the games. You can do your own analysis and not have to rely on me. Below that, you can submit your email address and we'll send you these 4 games. We would usually send you a bonus game because usually we only analyze 3 games, but I'm going to give you all 4 of them here because these 4 are in the contest and it would be less meaningful if I only did 3 of them. But we'll still send these to you if you submit your email address to us. And if you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description below the video and you'll come to a page where you can get both the full fan ad and these by submitting your email address. So let's jump in here and let's start by looking for our quarterback. Well, we always look for blue. Blue is always best, as we point out at the end of this video. If you're going to watch the instructional video on how to interpret the numbers, higher the better, the lower the worst, of course. But we highlight on blue and red the ones that stand out as bad and good. So we see that our only blue quarterback, so it doesn't take a genius to see that our best quarterback is Arizona this week.
If you're not a genius, don't bother.
He's the only one with blue. There are other options. I mean, just because they're not blue, you still got in Philly. You've got some, Philly and LA Chargers. You've got decent power numbers. We would not, going back here, we would not use San Francisco because they're red. We would not use Tampa because they're red. But we could be talked into almost any one of these other quarterbacks because they're fairly neutral. So let's just table that for now. Let's move on to the running backs. Again, let's eliminate anything red. So we're not interested in these. So I guess we would say this is the quarter. Again, let me just point out that 2016 and 17, that includes last year's data. 2017, only this year's data. So the longer we go, the more 2017 only will be the one you want to look at. And so 2017 for Arizona running backs haven't performed very well. They have a neutral last year, but we're still going to eliminate those. So we're not interested in Arizona's running backs. We're not interested in Chargers running backs. We're not interested in the Giants running back, and probably not Oakland's running backs. So the strong blue numbers, Denver running backs look good. Fairly good for Tampa running backs and Philadelphia running backs. So really 3 teams that we're pull our running backs from. And again, we don't tell you which actual running backs to choose from those teams because we don't know what your salary is going to look like. If you take if you're using high paid quarterbacks and high paid receivers, you're not going to have salary for the running backs, so we don't know which ones to tell you to use. We're just going to steer you towards the teams where we think the fan ad thinks that it's going to show some strong performance from the running backs. We just don't know which ones. We can't recommend which one. Let's go to receivers. Again, get rid of the red ones. So if you look here, we're not interested in San Francisco. We're not interested in Philadelphia. We're not interested in Tampa this week or anything from Oakland or Denver this week. So what we're going to do is, obviously, wide receivers from the Giants look good. Now, that's interesting because the quarterback isn't great, and there's reasons for that that I'm not going to get into right here. But again, you'll learn how that works better by watching the 10 minutes at the end of this video. So even though we're not going to maybe use the Giants quarterback, we're going to use the receivers from the Giants, and we'll probably use, fill out our car with some receivers from the Chargers because they're neutral, and Arizona. And then on our defense, we'll probably just this is just kind of a who knows? It's a toss up. It's a flip of a coin on which defense to take. But we'll eliminate the ones that don't have blue. We'll try to get the highest blue, which looks to me to be Denver's defense this week. We could probably consider Arizona's defense. They got pretty high blue numbers. But again, as you know, defenses are kind of it's fairly random. But we would probably either take Denver or Arizona. So with that said, I think we'll go back to the quarterbacks. We were going to go back to that. So we're going to use Arizona. The best thing to do here would be to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries. Just using the quarterback, each entry having a different quarterback, and then having the same receivers and running backs and the defense from those entries. So that's what we're probably going to do. Put in 6 entries, use a different quarterback for each one, and then mix up use the same receivers and running backs and defense for each one of those entries. So 6 entries in the contest for these afternoon games. So I think I'll leave it at that. Our confidence level on this week, it's a little higher than last week. We're between probably a 5 and a 6 that we can make some money, just because there is some separation here. Last week we had a lot of parity with the receivers. This week we have some separation. At least the fan ad points to some separation. So we're between a 5 and a 6 confidence level.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Again, below this video, click the red button, get the full fan ad, do the analysis yourself, interpret these numbers yourself, enter different contests with the full week's card. And below that, you can submit your email address to us. We'll send you these games to your email address. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the link in the description below the video. You'll come to a page where you can get all of that. So we'll leave it at that for this week. Good luck in your contests, and we'll be back next week on Wednesday with week 5, I guess, already. Again, good luck. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is this is going to be a fairly in-depth explanation of how to use these fan ad NFL indicators. And so it's not a professional video. It might be a few ums and ahs, but I want to take you through, and if you haven't watched this whole thing, we strongly recommend you do so, because then you can do your interpretation yourself and you don't have to rely on me. First thing I'll point out is that we've got all these numbers we have one for the full team power rating. That just takes all the stats, the quarterback ratings, the running back, wide receiver, tight end, defense, and everything. It just kind of brings them all together and gives you a team number. The lower the higher the better. Blue is always good.
You're my boy, Blue!
And red is always bad. Black is neutral. So we've got a power rating for the team, a power rating for the quarterback alone, a power rating for the running backs, a power rating for the wide receivers, which also includes the tight ends, and a power rating for the team defense. Now, before I go any further there and we're going to assume this is an actual contest. So we'll kind of go through and show you how we would use these numbers, how we would interpret them to come up with our lineups and our what players we're going to use or what teams we're going to use players from. But I want to just jump over here, and again, this is going to be very informal. But I want to jump over and show you a little bit of the stats and the data that go behind these into the algorithm that create these power ratings.
Some of that secret sauce.
So if I jump over here to my spreadsheet, again, this is going to be fairly informal. So here you see all these numbers, and we spent a good year and a half or 2 years putting these numbers together and putting these algorithms together. But you can see that if I just scroll around here, we take each matchup for the week, and it pulls in, how the defense does, how the offense does, how many interceptions, how many fumbles, the quarterback ranking, pass yards, rush yards, all that information for each team, and it creates a power ranking or power number that then comes out and goes into. So again, if I've got other, there's other tabs in here, there's more data, but you can kind of get a good idea. There's just a lot of data that goes into it. So the value of using this FanAd for creating your weekly lineups is that you don't have to do all this research. We do it all for you.
Okay, I'll make it as easy for you as I can.
And the FanAd comes out in a nice format with these numbers based on all that data. So again, let's go through here now and assume these games are in a contest that we're going to enter on FanDuel. Let's just assume we're going to enter one on FanDuel. And we're going to first of all go through and try to find our quarterback. Now you can see here that we've got 2 power ratings for each position. We've got a power rating that has the 2016 and 17 stats, and we've got a power rating that has only the 2017 stats. The reason that's important, at least early in the season, is that we don't have a lot of data for to put into 2017. There's only then, if this is week 2 as we record this, we've only got data from week 1, whereas last year we got data from all the 16 weeks. The problem with last year's data is things have changed, right? Teams have drafted new players, they've traded players, they maybe have a different quarterback in some cases, so it could be misleading. So we're going to give you, at least for a while, we're going to give you both the combined 2016-17 and then the 2017 only.
Are we clear?
So if we now the idea here is to try to gain separation. Again, you want to get separation from the other people that are going to be entering the contest. So if you're just putting in Captain Obvious bets,
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
everyone else is going to have the same bets or the same teams, the same players. So you want to try to find separation. So what we do is we go through and find a quarterback. We obviously, again, we're focusing on blue. So we've got a blue 244 here, which is great. Let's go down. Here's a couple. These are really good power ratings for the quarterback, and we got a 236 here. So we would obviously avoid, anything with red PR numbers and black. There's enough blue where we don't have to consider anything that's black, that's neutral. So our quarterbacks are going to be chosen from either the LA Rams, Green Bay, Atlanta, or Detroit. And we'll just table that for now. So let's go through and look at our running backs. Again, all this is red, so we're not interested in any running backs this week. Again, these will change. If for instance, if Washington were facing a different team, those power ratings would be different. This is based on how these teams will face each other today, or whatever day we're playing. So we're not interested in anything in red for the running back. We've got right here. We've got a 213. Came down a little bit for just 2017 alone data. So, but it's still, that's pretty good. There's not a whole lot of blue here, so we don't really have a whole lot to choose from. We've got for 2017, we've got Detroit. Their running backs did pretty well the first week. 187 black for other weeks, so we wouldn't be interested. So this is pretty difficult, but
Of course, I'm not right about doing things.
it looks to be that we would take our running backs from Seattle and probably from Detroit. Take a running back from each one of those teams, or maybe you want to take 2 from Seattle and just hope that one of them does well, so you don't have to worry about not picking the right one. Let's go to wide receivers. Again, red, not interested. here's some really high. I mean, 299 and 270, 299 for 2017. So the LA Rams look pretty good for wide receivers and tight ends. Again, not interested here. We just skip right over the red stuff. We don't need to deal with it. Here is neutral, and then for 2017 they both went red, so probably wouldn't be that interested. But down here we've got, for Detroit, we've got really good power ratings for the wide receivers for Detroit. So we would take wide receivers from the LA Rams and wide receivers from Detroit. Finally, we come down over here and we look at the defenses. So this one we're not interested in. It came down in 2017. It wasn't even good in 2016. The Rams defense is good. We consider that. San Francisco and Seattle both have good defensive numbers. We could consider both Green Bay. Well, actually, we won't. We'll take these out because they have neutral for 2016-17. They both came up for 17, but that's just one game's data, like I mentioned. And then you've got Detroit, who's got a good both last year and this year for the one game. So the defenses, we could go with either the Rams, San Francisco, Seattle, or Detroit. So if you're putting multiple entries in, you just mix and match those up. So again, let's back up and look at our quarterbacks. We would probably put in, if we were entering this contest, we'd probably put in 4 entries. One with the Rams quarterback, one with the Green Bay quarterback, one with Atlanta quarterback, and one with Detroit quarterback. On all those entries, we put in running backs from Seattle and probably from Detroit. And on all those entries, we put in receivers from the Rams and from Detroit. Now that's kind of interesting, a little bit contradictory there. If you look at Detroit, you're using running back and wide receiver. We might just say, okay, this isn't that great a rating. It's only one game. It was 187, so we might take it out. We actually might put both Seattle starting running backs in on all the entries because they look, they don't have great, their wide receiver ratings are bad, so they'll probably use their running backs. So let's just adjust that and update that. We're going to put both Seattle running backs in this contest. Wide receivers we're going to use from the Rams and from Detroit. And our defense, we're either going to use the Rams, San Francisco, Seattle, or Detroit.
Are you doing that on purpose? Or can't you make up your mind?
And we probably would just pick the best one, even though there's not a lot of separation, which would be the Rams, and go with that. So I think I'm going to end it there. Hopefully that gives you a good idea how to interpret these numbers.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go?
I should go back here and just talk about the team rating because we didn't use that at all in our analysis. Because that's more, probably the team rating is best used if you're betting Vegas style. So if you're putting in a bet in Vegas for the over-under or the winning team, you'd probably want to look for, so let's say we're going to bet the winning team. We'd probably look for a red versus a blue and pick the blue. So in this case, we take the Rams. Down here, this is another good one. We'd probably take Detroit against the Giants. If you come down here and look at these, you got a high blue and a low red so you take Detroit to win. If you're looking to bet an over, you'd look for games where you have both teams are red. And if you want to bet an under, you look for a team that has both teams that are blue. So there, I'll leave it. Hopefully that was valuable to you, and using this data, using these power ratings, hopefully you'll get some separation. You can do the analysis yourself, and you don't have to rely on me every week to do it for you. Good luck in all your contests, and we'll do the analysis for each week. Usually on Thursday, we'll get that to you, hopefully by around noon.